My brothers and sisters, how many of us delay our Salah? How many times do we say, I will pray later, I'm busy right now, I'll catch it before the time ends. And then we either rush it or worse, we miss it completely. Do you know what that does to the heart? Do you realize what it means when we treat the command of Allah as something secondary? The Prophet 8 told us that the very first thing we will be asked about on the day of judgment is our prayer. If it is correct, everything else will be correct. And if it is not, everything else will collapse. That is how important Salah is, yet many of us don't even realize the danger of delaying it. Wallahi, it eats away at our faith. It hardens our hearts, brings chaos into our lives without us even noticing. Today, I want to remind myself and you, Salah is not just a ritual, it is your lifeline, it is your shield, it is your discipline. If you truly value your life and your destiny, then value your prayer. Because once you begin to lose Salah, you begin to lose everything else. Allah Almighty has given us Salah as the greatest gift, the most powerful connection between the Creator and the servant. It is the first act of worship that will be asked about on the day of judgment. It is the difference between belief and disbelief, the light of the heart, and the key to success in this world and the hereafter. Yet sadly, one of the most dangerous habits many Muslims fall into is delaying Salah beyond its appointed time without a valid excuse. Salah is fixed by Allah's command. Allah says in the Quran, indeed, prayer has been decreed upon the believers, a decree of specified times. Quran 14:3, this verse makes it clear that Salah is not optional, nor is its timing flexible based on convenience. Each prayer has a start and an end, and delaying it deliberately until the time passes is disobedience to Allah's command. The scholars are agreed that praying after the time has ended without excuse is a major sin. The Prophet said, the most beloved deeds to Allah are prayer at its proper time, then kindness to parents, jihad in the path of Allah. So Bukhari and Muslim, notice how praying at its proper time comes first, even before other noble deeds. This shows the gravity of maintaining the time of prayer. The danger of callousness in Salah, delaying Salah until its time has ended, is a sign of heedlessness. Allah describes such people in the Quran, but there came after them successors who neglected the prayer and pursued desires, so they are going to meet evil. See Quran 1959, neglecting the prayer here, according to many scholars, includes delaying it beyond its time. It is not just missing the prayer completely, but treating it as something secondary, less important than work, entertainment, or sleep. The Prophet also warned, whoever abandons the Asr prayer, his deeds are nullified. Zabukhari, this hadith shows the seriousness of neglecting Salah on time. Even one prayer delayed without excuse carries consequences we cannot imagine. Valid excuses viz negligence, of course. Islam is a religion of mercy. If someone delays prayer due to valid reasons, such as being unconscious, forgetfulness, or extreme necessity, then Allah forgives. And the prayer should be performed as soon as possible. The Prophet said, whoever forgets a prayer or sleeps through it, let him pray it when he remembers. There is no expiation except that. Say Bukhari and Muslim, but there is a difference between a genuine excuse and habitual negligence. Staying on the phone, watching TV, hanging out with friends, or being too lazy to get up are not excuses in the sight of Allah. These are forms of neglect that harden the heart and bring punishment. The impact on the heart, when a believer delays Salah beyond its time, they are in fact saying, my worldly life is more important than answering Allah's call. This attitude slowly darkens the heart. What begins as a small delay becomes a habit, and eventually Salah itself is abandoned. Indeed, the hypocrites seek to deceive Allah, but He is deceiving them. And when they stand for prayer, they stand lazily, showing themselves to the people and not remembering Allah except a little. Sakaran 4, Sinion Fu Tufi, when Salah is no longer prioritized, it becomes an empty act performed at convenience rather than devotion. Such negligence not only weakens faith, but may even put one's Islam at risk. Guarding Salah defines destiny. The discipline of praying on time is a sign of true belief. The Prophet said, the covenant between us and them is prayer. Whoever abandons it has disbelieved. See Ahmad Tamidi, although scholars differ whether abandoning Salah entirely takes one out of Islam, all agree that consistently delaying it without excuse is a grave sin and a path to destruction. By guarding Salah at its proper time, a believer safeguards not only their religion, but also their success in this world. Salah brings light to the face, barakah in rizq, and peace to the heart. But neglecting it brings darkness, loss, and regret. Practical steps to avoid delaying Salah. Organize your day around Salah. Don't wait for the last minute. Schedule your activities to ensure prayer comes first. Use reminders and adans. Apps and alarms can help you remain conscious of prayer times. Pray in Jama'ah. Attending the masjid makes it easier to remain punctual. Make dua. Ask Allah to make Salah beloved to your heart and easy to maintain. Delaying Salah beyond its time is not a small mistake. It is a major sin that can destroy one's deeds and distance one from Allah. The believer must realize that nothing in this world is more urgent than answering Allah's call. The Prophet said, the first matter that the slave will be brought to account for on the day of judgment is the prayer. If it is sound, the rest of his deeds will be sound, and if it is corrupt, the rest of his deeds will be corrupt. Atabarani, authentic guard your Salah. Protect it, pray it at its time. For when you stand before Allah, it will be your Salah that determines your success or your loss. Salah is not simply a ritual of movements, it is the lifeline of faith, the rope that ties a believer's heart to Allah. When performed on time, it polishes the soul, brings tranquility to the heart, guards against sin. But when Salah is delayed habitually and performed at the last minute or even after its time, the heart begins to harden, faith begins to weaken, and the sweetness of worship slowly fades away. The heart loses its connection with Allah. The purpose of prayer is to remind us of Allah throughout the day. The Quran says, indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing, and the remembrance of Allah is greater. So Quran 29:4-5, but when a person delays Salah habitually, the prayer is no longer a source of remembrance. Instead, it becomes a rushed act to tick the box. The person's heart no longer feels connected to Allah because prayer is no longer the anchor of their life. This slow neglect weakens iman and replaces closeness to Allah with heedlessness. The Prophet's warning against delaying prayer. The Prophet described those who delay Salah out of laziness as resembling the hypocrites. Allah says in the Quran, indeed, the hypocrites he think to deceive Allah, but he is deceiving them. And when they stand for prayer, they stand lazily, showing themselves to the people and not remembering Allah except a little. The Quran 14:1-2, this verse highlights the spiritual danger of habitual delay. When prayer is no longer performed with eagerness and on time, it becomes an empty ritual. Over time, this laziness turns into hypocrisy of the heart, where faith is only outward and not deeply rooted inside. The gradual hardening of the heart faith does not disappear overnight. It fades slowly with small acts of negligence. Delaying Salah is one of the most common ways this happens. A believer may start by saying, I'll pray later, then later becomes the last 5 minutes, and eventually the prayer is missed altogether. The Prophet warned in a powerful hadith, the difference between us and them, the disbelievers, is prayer. Whoever abandons it has disbelieved. Tirmidhi, Ahmad. This shows how closely linked prayer is to faith. When prayer is delayed and neglected repeatedly, it weakens the bond between the heart and Allah until faith itself is in danger. Loss of kushtik. See concentration. Another danger of habitual delay is that Salah loses its soul. When a believer prays late, they often rush through the motions, reciting without reflection and bowing without humility. This is not the Salah that Allah loves. Allah criticizes such people in the Quran. So woe to those who pray, but who are heedless of their prayer, those who make a show and withhold simple assistance. Surah Quran 7:4-7, and notice Allah did not say woe to those who don't pray, but those who are heedless of their prayer. Scholars explain this includes delaying it habitually and praying carelessly without kash. Such prayer does not bring peace to the heart, nor does it protect from sin. The slippery path to abandonment, habitually delaying Salah, is a slippery slope. At first, the believer delays out of laziness or distraction, but over time, the heart becomes desensitized and Salah is no longer a priority. This leads to entire prayers being missed. The Prophet warned about a time when people would neglect prayer until it is no longer recognizable. There will come a time when people will waste the prayer and pursue desires. The Ibn Majah, this prophecy is visible today. Many Muslims feel no guilt in missing or delaying prayers. The danger is not just missing one Salah, but the destruction of the heart that follows. Practical steps to revive the heart: pray immediately when the time comes. Train yourself to respond to the adhan without delay. Make dua for steadfastness. The Prophet would often pray, O turner of hearts, keep my heart firm upon your religion. Tamidid, understand the value of Salah. Reflect on the fact that it is the first question on the day of judgment. If Salah is sound, everything else will be sound. Pray in congregation. Being with others helps avoid laziness and delay. Limit distractions. Don't let phones, work, or entertainment rob you of your prayer time. Habitually delaying Salah is not just a matter of poor time management, it is a matter of the heart. Every late prayer removes a little bit of barakah, weakens faith, and darkens the soul. If left unchecked, can lead to hypocrisy, neglect, and even abandonment of Salah altogether. But the heart can always be revived. Allah is merciful, and every prayer performed on time strengthens the bond again. Every effort to guard Salah purifies the heart, increases iman, and brings peace. The believer must realize that Salah is not for Allah's benefit. It is for ours. When you delay it, you harm your own heart. When you guard it, you guard your faith. So discipline your soul, value your Salah, and protect your heart. Because the moment you begin delaying prayer habitually is the moment your faith begins to slip away. Salah is more than a set of daily rituals. It is a system that trains the heart, the body, and the soul to live with discipline. When Allah commanded the believers to establish prayer, He didn't just prescribe it as a form of worship, but as a complete framework that shapes life, habits, and ultimately destiny. Those who guard their salah on time with sincerity and devotion find that their entire life falls into order. Those who neglect it find their lives filled with chaos, restlessness, and a lack of direction. Prayer builds the foundation of discipline. The Quran says, prayer has been decreed upon the believers, a decree of specified times. A Quran forcing 103. Unlike voluntary acts of worship, Salah is fixed. You cannot move far to midday, nor can you delay Maghrib until midnight. This structure teaches the believer that time belongs to Allah, not to our desires. When a person aligns their day around Salah, they are training themselves to honor commitments, manage time, and live with consistency. This discipline then reflects in other areas in how they approach work, family, and responsibilities. The one who guards Salah is often more organized, more focused, and more purposeful in life. The Prophet A, as the ultimate example, the Messenger of Allah, structured his entire day and night around Salah. He taught his companions that prayer was not an interruption to life, but the very heart of it. When Bilal's Ray would call the adhan, the Prophet A would say, "O Bilal, give us comfort through prayer." So Abu Dawood noticed the words, "Comfort through prayer, not from prayer." For him, Salah was not a burden, but a source of strength and peace. This mindset reshaped the companions into men and women of powerful discipline, built empires, spread Islam across continents, and lived lives of sacrifice, all while never compromising their Salah. Shaping destiny through Salah, every Salah is an opportunity to choose your destiny. On the day of judgment, the very first deed to be accounted for is prayer. The Prophet A said, the first matter that the slave will be brought to account for on the day of judgment is the prayer. If it is sound, then the rest of his deeds will be sound. And if it is corrupt, then the rest of his deeds will be corrupt. Tirmidhi, this hadith shows us that Salah is the foundation of success, both in dunya and akhirah. If you protect your Salah, Allah protects your path. If you neglect it, your destiny becomes shaky. Prayer trains the soul to resist laziness. One of the greatest enemies of man is procrastination. People delay goals, tasks, and duties until opportunities pass by. But Salah fights this disease. Fajr requires you rise before sunrise, even when your body craves more sleep. Duhr requires you to pause your work. Maghrib demands focus even in the busiest hours of the evening. Isha tests your discipline when tiredness sets in. By submitting to this routine, you train your soul to overcome laziness, procrastination, and distractions. This discipline then translates into your career, studies, and personal growth, barakah in time and life. Many people complain, "I don't have enough time." But the truth is, time loses its barakah when Salah is neglected. When you prioritize Salah, Allah blesses your hours. The Prophet A made dua, "Olala, bless my ummah in the early mornings." Said Tirmidhi, this shows that discipline in Salah, especially guarding Fajr, brings blessings into productivity, wealth, and health. A believer who prays on time finds tasks easier, opportunities clearer, and life more fulfilling. Salah as a shield against sin. Discipline is not just about time, it is also about controlling desires, designed to protect the heart from falling into sin. Allah says, indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing. So Quran 29:45, when you are disciplined in Salah, your heart becomes disciplined against temptation. The very act of pausing 5 times daily to remember Allah reshapes your inner world. Slowly, bad habits fade away, replaced by conscious choices that align with faith. This spiritual discipline leads to a life of purity, purpose, and success. Plan your day around Salah, not the other way. Fix appointments, meals, rest according to prayer times. Answer the adhan immediately. Train yourself to respond without delay. Pray in congregation. This strengthens accountability and builds consistency. Reflect during prayer. Don't let it become routine. Engage your heart with every word you recite. Make dua for steadfastness. Continuously ask Allah to keep you firm. Discipline in Salah is discipline in life. The person who answers Allah's call 5 times a day trains their heart to always prioritize what matters most. Such a person becomes reliable, trustworthy, and spiritually strong. But more than anything, Salah shapes destiny. On the day of judgment, it will decide whether your record is heavy with success or light with regret. So remember, guard your Salah and Allah will guard your life. And have a life of discipline in worship, and Allah will write for you a destiny of barakah, peace, and eternal success.